Welcome to the Savvy Podcasting for Entrepreneurs podcast, a place for podcasters to learn what's actually working in the world of podcasting and how to use their podcast to generate consistent leads in their business. I'm your host, Jenny, and I'm so excited you're here. Hey, Savvies, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. In today's episode, we're chatting all about picking a marketing focus for your podcast, because unfortunately, podcast players like Apple Podcast and Spotify don't really help much in terms of getting new listeners to your show unless you've got an already pretty large podcast. You know how when we go on Apple Podcasts and we browse and it's all these podcasts that are huge and not the small fish. Yeah, that. It's really up to us to promote our episodes and get more listeners. So before we dive into the episode, I wanted to quickly chat about my 5 mistakes you're probably making with your podcast guide. I know when we're launching our podcast, we're super excited. We're stoked. We try not to miss any steps, but we probably do. So if you want to get your hands on this guide, you can head to savvypodcastingforentrepreneurs.com/mistakes today and grab it for free. All right, let's jump into this episode. So marketing your podcast is super important for steady podcast growth, but it can be overwhelming to kind of know where to begin if social media isn't your jam, which a lot of people it isn't. So I personally recommend starting with just one social media platform. You hear that? One social media platform. This will reduce the overwhelm because you'll only be focused on promoting your podcast on that one channel, and you'll be able to truly learn what works and what doesn't work on that platform instead of trying to promote your podcast on every platform and having mediocre results across the board because you're not committed to just one thing. And I know you're probably now wondering, but Jenny, what platform should I choose to focus on? And that is really completely up to you and your target audience. There's really no use on being on a platform if your ideal listener isn't there. So first, you're going to want to figure out where your people hang out the most. If your target audience is primarily on Instagram, make that your focus. If they tend to spend more time on Twitter or even Facebook, then use those channels instead. Just kind of from your experience and from your demographic, like where do you think your ideal people are hanging out? And if you want to do a deeper dive into the different social media platform options and which ones might work best for your specific podcast, then I suggest you head over to episode 193 and give it a listen, because in that episode, I give a breakdown of each channel, their benefits, and things like that. So definitely go check that out if you are just completely lost on where to start. But yeah, so you're going to pick that one channel that your audience is on and go all out on that one channel. You want to share your new episodes and your old episodes there. I recommend sharing your episodes at least 3 times a week, kind of between the day it goes live and your next episode, because not everyone sees every single thing that you post on social media. Algorithms are not always in our favor. Most of the time, they're actually not in our favor, but you can make this interesting by sharing audiograms, quotes, video clips from the episode, static images, etc., and really just get the most bang for your buck out of every single piece of content. Because if you're only sharing it once and then not promoting anything about your podcast again until the next week, you're doing yourself a total disservice. So I personally chose Instagram to be my one focus channel, because with Instagram, you got the feed post, you've got stories, you've got reels, you've got IGTVs. So there's just something for everyone. And because I can mix it up with different types of content, it probably won't ever get boring to me. And I think it's a great way to just continue bringing people to my podcast with new and innovative ways, like video content or stories or like short form video with reels or whatever that may be. So you don't have to focus on one platform for forever, though. Just keep that in mind. It's not just if you choose Instagram, that's it. You're never going to focus on another platform. This will just get you used to being consistent with promoting your podcast on social media each and every week. And once you have mastered kind of that one social media channel and you're starting to see consistent results and it's really paying off, then you can kind of move on to another platform. Start with one and then go from there. It's not to say you can't reserve your handles on the other platforms or have it like auto post or something, but don't make it the platform you go all out on, because you can't go all out on 4 channels at once. It's going to be draining. You would need a full-time content manager to help with that. So pick the one platform. If you want to auto post to the others for the time being until you figure out that content strategy, totally fine. But yeah, I would love to hear from you and know what your social media platform of choice for promoting your podcast is. So head on over to Instagram, shoot me a DM at Jenny Suneson, JennySuneson, and let's chat. I love to chat with you guys. My DMs are always open. I love to hear that you're listening to the podcast and implementing what I have to say, especially because these episodes are so quick and actionable and they're not fluffy at all. I love to hear what kind of action you're taking with your podcast, especially as we're going into Q3 of 2021, which is just insane. So yeah, that is it for this episode. I will see you guys in the next episode.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast player like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Stitcher, and leave a review. You can find us at savvypodcastingforentrepreneurs.com and on Facebook at Savvy Podcasting for Entrepreneurs and Instagram at Savvy Podcasting. Make sure to join our free Facebook community for podcasters by going to savvypodcastingforentrepreneurs.com/community and join in on the exclusive community just for Savvy Podcasting for Entrepreneurs listeners. I'll see you there.